And they did the side-by-side on the Manger Tings kids.
And all the kids, they're all goofy kids that turn into goofy-looking adults, except for 11.
Millie Bobby Brown is a gorgeous girl.
Gorgeous, yeah.
And Sadie Sink, the redhead, she's cute too. Actually, there's only a couple of them who look goofy. The kid that was in Ghostbusters is the only one
Finn
that looks
is, I think, very goofy looking. And your favorite, Manger Ting.
Does that kid have teeth now? I've asked this before.
I think he does.
Gaten Matarazzo is the kid who, famously didn't have teeth or something. And I don't know what's that.
And you mocked him for it.
Well, I did. I was like, this kid's on television, and he's going, So listen, good for him, right? He had surgery to remove extra teeth, so I don't think that wasn't that he didn't have enough, or they were in weird places or something, and he had a condition. Mm-hmm. So not his fault, but I'm just saying. At the end of the day, this kid is on television. This is what led me to if you want me to pay attention to kids, I better be hot. Am I going to get myself in trouble for that? I don't know, possibly. but again, what I mean is, if you're going to this isn't England, where there's about 8 actors and they all rotate on the same shows and none of them are worth looking at. This is the United States of America, where you just have miles and miles and miles of attractive people you can put on television.
You know who's a real weird-looking British actor that I can't? Matt Smith. I cannot.
The guy played Doctor Who.
Yeah, he played Doctor Who. He was in Last Night in Soho. Mm-hmm. He was just in something else that I was watching, and that guy.
He's in The Crown too.
Yeah, he's in The Crown. He's in something else that I watched.
Morbius.
Recently. Yes, Morbius. Yeah. And he's just very unsettling to look at. Because at first glance, you're like, oh, that's a regular looking guy, and then the more his face is on the screen, the more things seem to either be too close together or too far apart or too deep. I don't know.
If you didn't know who he was, you'd think he was like a Russian boxer or something. He's kind of got this... He's got a very strange face.
Yeah.
When my older daughter was younger, she'll be 18 this summer, so probably 8-9 years ago, they called themselves Whovians. She was obsessed with Doctor Who. It was all she wanted to mess with was Doctor Who. And so I took her to the Doctor Who convention in Chicago one year, and Matt Smith was there giving a room full of people he's talking to, fans or whatever, doing Q&A, and she was just beside herself over Matt Smith. She just thought he was the foxiest thing on 2 legs.
Give me David Tennant.
Well, he's coming back.
Oh, is he coming back?
He's coming back to do something for I think it's the Doctor Who 60th anniversary or something.
Who's the other one?
Listen,
Peter, what's his, Capaldi?
Peter Capaldi was one, yes. Yeah. Again, I'm a Gen Xer, so Tom Baker is my forever Doctor Who. I'm not obsessed with Doctor Who, but I definitely had that little phase because we didn't have cable television when I was a kid. So we only had what the rabbit ears could pick up. So we had the 3 local affiliates, 3 or 4. And then we would get Channel 21 out of Wisconsin, and they would show Doctor Who on Saturday nights. And I would watch Doctor Who. Tom Baker, I don't even know if this guy's alive. He is still my Doctor Who. That's who I think of. Not your newfangled Matt Smith, David Tennant. Or Chris Eccleston, or any of these other guys.
Tom Baker.
Who's the girl that plays it?
88 years old.
Okay, he's alive.
He's alive.
Who's the blonde that Jodie? Somebody plays Doctor Who, right? She's cute. She's good.
I watched up to Matt Smith. I watched when they brought it back in 2004, 2005. I watched that. I watched most of the David Tennant seasons, and then I watched a little bit of Matt Smith, and then it kind of fell off for me.
Jodie Whittaker is again, I don't know who the current Doctor Who is.
I think they just got their first black Doctor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Imagine that. First black Doctor Who in 60 years. Mm-hmm. Conversely, it's like the presidency. People in this country were like, we'll take a black guy before a woman. That was the consensus they came to. Doctor Who world, they were like, you got to ease us in with a chick, and then we'll figure out the black guy.
Boy, that's Ncuti Gatwa.
Gesundheit. That's his name?
That's his name.
Ncuti?
Ncuti. Gatwa.
Okay. CUTI is what my doctor told me some years ago. And I was on quite an aggressive prescription for it. So, yeah, I never got like crazy into Doctor Who, but when I was a kid and it was on, it was glorious in its lack of production values. I mean, the effects were awful. The Daleks were just like garbage cans they were pushing around.
It's the funniest thing because they're so non-threatening.
Right.
And they are playing it up like these are the things that's going to destroy all of us.
Like it's Thanos or something, and they're garbage cans on wheels that exterminate. But yeah, I dug it as a kid. But circling all the way back around to Matt Smith, my only interaction there was taking my daughter to that convention and her going cuckoo. Matt Smith looks like if Daniel Tosh and Dolph Lundgren had a kid.
And then Dolph Lundgren punched it a couple of times, too.
Right.
Yeah, his features are just very exaggerated. Mm-hmm. Or under. Like, some are too much, others aren't enough. It's very weird looking. Mm-hmm. Very weird looking guy.
Alan, was I in Chicago? Yeah, I was a kid. When, didn't the Max Headroom signal interruption interrupt a Doctor Who episode? Do you guys remember that? I think it was national news at the time, but I don't know if it was. I was probably in high school by then, where somebody in a Max Headroom mask cut it. Yeah, you guys would have been real.
I was a little kid.
Poundcake wasn't even alive.
I remember people talking about it, but not really understanding it, and then seeing somebody talk about it on one of those Talking Head VH1 shows all those years ago.
This was back when, like, hacking, you barely knew what hacking was, right? It wasn't really computer hacking. It was people cutting into television signals. Mm-hmm. And they found out, they didn't know who did it, and it was super creepy at the time. It was a guy who cut into 2 stations in Chicago. And it was a guy in a Max Headroom mask and this weirdo background behind him. And he's just bobbing his head, and there's this distorted audio and weird music playing. It was super creepy. They ended up finding out that it was some guy who was like an engineer in Florida or something who had managed to cut in on the signal. But back then they were like, we don't know what, these days hacking could get you like millions of dollars in fines. And back then they were like, I don't know.
How long was it hacked for?
I mean, it was at night. It was like, this says 11:15. I don't remember PM. I don't remember the exact time, but I'll take them at their word.
Getting his butt spanked.
Yes.
Weird.
Right.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, there's somebody off screen with like a paddle or something. I remember that. November 22nd, 1987, while an episode of Doctor Who was playing. Yeah, I don't remember. I guess I was watching Doctor Who because I remember seeing that come on, and I was like, this is the strangest commercial I've ever seen. And it wasn't like you could go to Twitter and find out what was going on in 1987. You had to kind of, and even...
Yeah, to roll with it and be like, what's going on?
Even like the newspapers didn't know what happened. It was on the local news affiliates and whatever. Vince Neil, this summer, and it's been delayed because of COVID, I think for a couple of years, that huge stadium tour, Motley Crue, who swore they'd never tour again, that lasted about 9 months, Def Leppard, Joan Jett, Poison, they're all going on tour. They're playing First Energy Stadium on July 14th. We've given away tickets for this. You might be hanging on to tickets for the past 2 years. Because I think they announced this, or they were going to do it in 2020. And they're all getting ready for it. And the question was, is Vince Neil going to get into shape for this big Crue tour? Because Vince Neil is famously not in shape.
He's a chunky boy.
And... And he doesn't seem all that concerned about it. I mean, I think a while back, like he fell over on stage or something, or they thought he had a heart attack.
Did he fall off the stage?
He fell off the stage, but he's also like super winded when he's singing. And so I thought, boy, I'll tell you what, if Vince Neil, because the other guys are in pretty good shape. I mean, Mick Mars, the kind of shape he's in is like, that guy's just got a whole bunch of...
His bones are basically concrete, right?
Something like that, yeah. But Nikki Sixx has stayed in pretty good shape, or at least they've covered it up enough where you can't tell. Vince Neil is a chunky boy, like you said. And I thought, well, if Vince Neil is smart, he could get himself into amazing shape and just come back out on these stadium tours looking like it's 1983 again. It doesn't seem like that's what he's doing. But he is doing weird payday loan ads. Have you seen any of these?
No.
An ad for the Dollar Loan Center. And the whole commercial is all these hot chicks like you might have seen in a classic Crue video, pushing these buttons. They're in white lab coats. I don't know what that has to do with getting money, but for the loan approval machine. Now, this is a huge swing and a miss that they didn't do a parody of the Cult song. Love removal machine. They should have gotten the Cult and the loan approval machine. They could have done that. It would have been great. Instead, they got, I mean, you're not going to look at the Cult and go, oh, I know those guys. But Vince Neil has done this commercial. And it's him on a Zamboni. They filmed it in Nevada where they have, what's in Vegas? The Golden Knights?
Yeah.
The Vegas NHL team?
Yep.
Well, Henderson, Nevada, the local hockey team is the Silver Knights. See what they did?
Uh-huh.
And Vince Neil is out there on the Zamboni telling people that loans are great.
Yeah! All right. That loan approval machine rocks.
No, I wasn't going to play the whole thing for you because it's a real slog, but boy, they missed the boat by not doing a parody of Love Removal Machine.
I think they did exactly what
they
needed
should
to
have done?
do. Yes. Oh.
So the stadium tour launches in about a month in Atlanta. It'll wrap up in the fall, but it's here in Cleveland. If you're holding on to tickets, you know, July 14th. Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Poison, Joan Jett, and an L.A. band of young dudes basically trying to revive the 80s called Classless Act.
Man, they didn't really commit to the girl. Like, the girls are very pretty, but they're not real. Like, they're just in, like, white lab coats.
They're not 80s sleazy.
Yeah, they're not that. They're not
Tawny Katane in a Whitesnake video.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
Yep. But they must have paid him a lot of money to do that.
I don't know if they paid him a lot of money.
Yeah! All right. That loan approval machine rocks.
Maybe he needed a short-term loan, and they said, well, if you do this ad, I'll take care of that for you. But again, judging from him in this commercial, he's not hitting the gym, which I realize is a big ask. But if you're going back out on the road, I would think you'd maybe want to get into some shape because you're running around. I mean, ideally, you're running around. Mick Jagger's running around. If you've seen Motley Crue, you know Vince Neil's kind of sauntering. Maybe at some point you just go, look, I don't have it anymore, but people want to come see us. The guys in Def Leppard are all in really good shape.
He looks smaller than he's looked in the past, but it's also, I mean, he's still, those bracelets are thick.
Yeah. Intermittent Fast for Love, I think, is the Motley Crue album that he's... So, I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing those guys. I saw them...
He doesn't look that bad. If you see him in that last shot, he doesn't look... Because he's been real big.
Yeah.
It
big
looks
and
like he's
sweaty. And
he's sitting down, so that... Like, if he's standing up, I think he looks okay. I think he'll be all right.
I wonder if that's him singing. Fast approval? Too fast for loans. So many things they could have done with this.
Okay, here's him.
So hot chicks, processing, and then he comes up and looking to see if his loan is approved, and it is.
Yeah!
Okay.
All right. That loan approval machine rocks.
And then he takes off on the... You know, but again, there are so many things here that don't...
Okay.
They could have gone in a different direction. You know what I mean? It says lightning fast approval, but he's on a Zamboni, which is not fast at all. Put him in something fast.
Why are they in a hockey arena? I don't get that at all. Not the bleeding splish splash show. I'm watching some video from him in March performing, and he's still got the gut in that one.
Okay.
Yeah. So, how tall is he? He doesn't seem like a very he's a chunky boy, but he seems kind of small.
None of these guys are tall. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think if you're wearing dragon boots or whatever, you look tall. But I don't think any of these guys are especially tall. But I mean, I saw Motley Crue like back in the day. And they were good. But in my mind, I would be like, man, I want to go out there and I just want to destroy. But maybe he just figures, look, people are going to come out and they're going to see what we
there
can.
either way. So what does he care?
Either way. But he was such a good-looking dude back in the day when he was like, I mean, obviously, 35 years ago, it's a different story. He'll be 60.
He's 61.
Yeah, he just turned 61. But, good-looking dude back in the day. And the other guys don't look that much different. Like Tommy Lee has kept it together. But the guys in Def Leppard, I mean, and I don't know what order they're going in, but the Def Leppard guys, they kept it together. Like their guitar player's like legit shredded.
Mm. That really matters.
So anyway, I don't know. Huh?
It sound good.
My thought is, I mean, there's so much spectacle in that kind of music, in like old hair bands or rock and roll or whatever, that, man, if you can go out there, because what's the cliche? Old, fat rockers.
Yeah.
And if you can defy that and go out there and have people go, oh my God. Remember what happened when Van Halen first got back together with David Lee Roth? And people were like, oh my God, David Lee Roth. Like he was having a hard time hitting the notes. He had clearly
put on some weight.
Who else? What happened? He hit the gym, and when they went out on tour again, he was cut.
Yeah. Axl Rose. Fat Axl was my favorite Axl.
Even he lost some weight.
Yeah.
But when David Lee Roth came back, he went over to Japan, had his whole back done with tattoos. He comes back, and David Lee Roth, other than the hair being gone, looked great. That's what I would want to do if I was one of these guys. Let's really take these people back to 1983. Not just with the music, but with the look.
I like the passage of time look.
You do?
Yeah, of course.
You're out there like with a big gut, and
these guys, because these aren't my bands. So
no, but
I think it's funny for Vince Neil to be out there with his Vince Neil, just with a big gut singing these songs. It makes it way funnier to sing.
I guess the difference for me is because I was weaned on these bands as a kid, and so it was all, it was called C-Rock.
Yeah.
But listen, if you're Molly Hatchet or Lynyrd Skynyrd, who cares? Because who cares? But like these guys were renowned for like banging piles of chicks. These were like sexy, sleazy bands.
Right, and that's why I like, especially if the rest of them are in good shape, but Vince is the only fat one.
Well, yeah, and that's what it is.
It makes it funny.
All right, I mean... Listen,
our own front man.
Our own Corey Roddick, who lives, breathes everything sleazy metal from back in the day, right? He's not 20 years old, but he has kept himself rail thin because that's the look for that vibe.
But he hates food.
Does he?
Yeah. Corey, because he likes that look so much, though.
Okay.
He works for him.
Yeah. He's in a band. Yeah. Like, when you're skinny like that... Speed rail. Even Nickelback said it. We'll all stay skinny if we just don't eat, right? That's how it happens. Back in the day, it was cocaine and things like that. But, because Corey knows. He goes, this is the look. You can't get up there being fat. And he's just in a local band. Well, Why can't Vince Neil have that level of commitment when he's playing stadiums? Trust me, no one is more surprised than I am that I've done this deep of a dive on it. But
I saw him a few years ago. We're at Romo Fijo back when it was the Q, and I mean it was a fun show still, with big fat Vince Neil plomping around on stage.
Oh boy, yeah. Ironic how the most vain guy in the group turned out to be the biggest slob. Was he? I mean, he was like bleach blonde, and all the other guys were, dark hair, and he stood out because he was bleach blonde and, or wearing makeup or whatever. And he was the guy that inspired "Dude Looks Like a Lady," the Aerosmith song. They wrote that about Vince Neil.
Well, now he just looks like an old lady.
Dude looks like an old lady, fat old lady. Okay. I got to take a break here. I will have, after the break, tickets for Tenacious D. They're doing Blossom in September. So if you want to see Jack Black, Kyle Gass, and the group, I'll get you a couple of tickets. And then 4:30 is the next chance to get some money. $1,000 to go fund yourself is on the way. 35192. You want to text me for anything else, and we'll be back.
This is the Alan Cox